I was abandoning myself for years. I mean, not minutes, not hours, not days, not weeks, not months, not 1 year, 2 year, but actually probably around 40 or 45 years. And I want to share what this mean to me, what I found out when I became curious about this, and why I'm on the mission of actually just figuring out who am I. And this is all about manifestation. And before I dive into this, I also want to say that I'm sitting in the sun here. So I'm like this. And this is on purpose because it's a beautiful day. It's around -3 degrees Celsius here where I am in north of Europe. And it has been so cold and it's very windy. I just came from outside, so I'm a bit red in my head. And it's also, we have come through the dark period here in the north. So November, December, January are very dark months. And for me, some of the videos I have been doing, I'm going back to the abandoning part, but for me, some of the videos, they have been with the light in the background and all of this, but this is kind of like I see the light right now. And I want to share this with you. So we have the first people going through the 7-day manifestation reset challenge right now. And it reminded me of me abandoning myself. The whole idea of this challenge is actually to come back to ourselves. And it's from the idea that if hustling and grinding no more is what is the right thing for you, then it might be, if you want to manifest money or grow your business, or you want to manifest a better health, you want to manifest a great relationship, a loving relationship, whatever it is, I found out myself that I abandoned myself when I was hustling and grinding. So that's why the 7-day manifestation reset channel is there. And I've seen, and I understand why, because life gets busy, that some people, they might not go every day. They might have some busy life going on and then they forget, or they don't have time, or things like that. And I understand this. The thing is, for me, what I learned about manifestation and about myself and about my nervous system is this. When I was in a $1.5 million debt and I made the decision not to run away, but actually face it and solve it. And with that decision, there was so much energy that I still believe today attracted the synchronicities in my life that helped me solve the debt in less than 4 years. I built a team in a very, very tough competing business area, team of 60 people, and I paid off the debt. $1.5 million in around 4 years. Not many people can do that. And I don't have any degrees. I'm here, I'm me. I'm just me. I was hustling and grinding to do this. Now, first step of my awareness journey, when I did this, one of the first things, the synchronicities that showed up, was a seminar in London. I joined that, and after that, on the seminar, I met someone. After I decided I needed a coach, I met someone who referred me to a coach on the seminar. I had a call with the coach, and we are still friends. We became a deep relationship. He helped me. He's a very successful business owner. He helped me grow my business. but also to shift my mindset. And one of the exercises, and this is back in 2012, one of the exercises was to begin listening to my thoughts and my emotions. And suddenly I became aware, and this was from the formula, maybe you heard this. This was from the formula that thought plus feelings plus action equals results. Many teachers have spoken about this. So whatever we think, whatever we feel, and then the actions that's on top of this, it equals a result. So if you fear deep down having money, or you fear that if you have money, you will not be a good person. I had that fear. If you fear that having money will make you egoistic, having money you will lose them, you can't handle it, something like that, or you will be abused by people because you have money. I had a very successful client that I coached for some years who had that deep-rooted fear, actually being afraid of being abused, which was why the person always did good, but never went above, because was afraid with a lot of money that the person would be abused. And if we have that deep-rooted thing inside of us, and we have to become aware, what am I thinking? What am I feeling around all of these things? And on a deeper level, what does my nervous system feels like? Is it relaxed and calm, or is it getting tense when I think about a relationship or a business or money? Because if my nervous system, which it was, is getting tense, this is my story. When I grew my business, it was going so fast, and it was a lot of energy, and it was very exciting and pushing and grinding and a lot of great results. All of that was good. But I was not aware on a deeper level that my nervous system, that deep inside of me, I was afraid of losing the money. And what I found out, this was the first level, and that's why I created the 7 days manifestation reset challenge. And the link is below this video if you want to check it out. It's free. For me, that was the first step. But when I say I was abandoning myself, it gets deeper. Because when I went into my second, could even call it the dark night of the soul, I had a period after my long 6 years relationship that actually just took nearly every positive energy out of me, nearly all my life energy. It was sucked out of me in that relationship. So I ended up being like just an empty sack, just the body. There was no energy, there was no positivity, there was no confidence in myself left. So I crashed. And that was my second and deeper learning around what I said here, abandoning myself. Because on that journey where everything crashed for me, it was like, I say it again and again, but I had this image of you have a Chinese vase and you drop it on a concrete floor, and it's in more than 1,000, maybe millions of pieces. That was how it felt for me. Everything crashed. When I began, after lying on my floor for 2 weeks just crying, and I actually not only cried, it was crazy how much stuff came out of me. After that, when I began crawling again, because that's what it felt like. I made a decision, but not with the same energy as my first crash with the money and the $1.5 million debt. But I made a decision that I wanted help to get back into life. And I've been very blessed with a lot of great mentors and healers and the right people showing up at the right time for me. And they did. And I had a wonderful older woman helping me through this. It was not her words for it, but it's mine today, through this dark night of the soul period. And one of my biggest learnings from that period was that I didn't really know who I was, because I had abandoned myself for so many years. And this is deep. What I found out was that early in my life, I just breathe. If you can feel anything here, if you relate to something here, just breathe. Nice and easily. Early in my life, I had a lot of pains, a lot of moments where I was not happy, where I felt like a joke, or I felt being laughed at, or I felt stupid or awkward, and not or, all of these are and. And also one important thing was, and I shared this also again, but my dad was an alcoholic, and I had the nice dad and the alcoholic dad, and the nice dad was so warm and so nice and so fun. And I loved being with that dad. And then the day after, or 2 days after, it was the other dad. And for a small kid, that small person, that small kid, that little boy, that little me, had to figure out a way not to keep being that hurt. Because it hurted, I remember that. So the system of this little boy, some was consciously and some was not, created, what's the right word was this, created some mechanism, protection mechanism, facades, walls, so that little boy didn't have to feel all those very heavy emotions, which was too much for a little system to handle. And here comes the abandoning part, because in some of my curiosity is the right word with myself, with some of my journeys, with people helping me, with me breathing through it or staying with it, all of the things that hurt it, that because I couldn't do this for so many years, but when I began learning to stay with the emotions showing up, and my system began, then that me, the self here, began to understand that I could actually, and sometimes it has been very tough, but that I could actually handle it, that I was safe even though all of this energy came up. Then more could come up. And I know this is not the fairy tale version of manifesting and sitting in meditation and life is just showing up as beautiful as it can be, but this is my truth and so many people's truth. And what happened to me was that I began to understand that I abandoned that little boy, that little creative, smiling, funny, crazy, loving, caring, curious boy. I left him so many years ago because my system didn't know how to handle all of those heavy emotions that felt so not nice, It was too much. And when I say abandoning, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes here. Abandoning for me was that I created different versions of myself. So I created a fun guy for the school, and I remember that I created jokes and all of that, and people would laugh, and I was like, okay, now I'm good. But it wasn't the real Michael doing this. It was a facade. It was like Jim Carrey, it was a mask that I put on, and now I could get some kind of recognition. Later on, I became a bad guy doing very bad stuff. And I can talk more about that in another video, but that was also a mask. And with that mask, nobody could hurt me, because the more bad that I became, nobody dared to hurt me. But it was mask. It wasn't that little boy that was left there in time, on the timeline. And later on, it became the businessman. It was a mask. Because when I became very good at doing business, and I grew my company, and I was this leader, and I was on the high roll, and everything was so great. I lived in this big apartment and had this nice suit on and all of that. And I was just in great energy, and people were, wow, that energy is amazing. But today I know that was also a mask. It was a character that I invented. Not saying good or bad, not saying not to do these things. I'm just sharing my story here. And what I found out was that when I began looking into all of this, and this is, for some it's easy, for some the universe helps us. It did for me with 2 big lessons, and I didn't learn it the first time. So it sent me this, I wouldn't call it an angel, but a woman who cracked me right open. And then I could finally go on this deep journey. I got an image, and this is from a session that I was in. I can share in another video too, but I got an image where at a time I was in a deep, call it trance, and I saw this little Michael, little me, little boy, and I was myself, but in a meditation, very deep meditation. And this little boy, he reached his small hand into my heart. And I remember that feeling, and I was crying there was a lot of tears. I remember that feeling of love, of warmth, because what happened was, it was a reconnection with myself. I reconnected with myself. And that was exactly what happened. And that love inside, it was just spreading and spreading and spreading, and the warmth was spreading. And that was all of those years, all the abandoning. That little version was afraid of showing up again, because that little boy was afraid that I would abandon him. So this, like I said in the beginning, this is deep. This is deep, and it's not like we can just sit for a moment and this is happening. I haven't seen that myself. I haven't seen that with people that I've helped. But the very, very nice, loving, kind, creative, sparkling, whatever you want to call it, outcome of this has been so much more awareness, so much more love, so much more deep conversation and connections and trust that everything will unfold. And it will. So it came to me while I was walking outside that I wanted to sit in the sun, and I wanted to share this that came up. And also for those in the 7-day challenge right now, I hope this makes sense. Maybe something inside of you recognize this. Maybe something inside of you is feeling this. And if you are in the community, you're more than welcome to let yourself know in the comments what what in this video do you recognize? And if you are not in the community, you're more than welcome to do the same thing on YouTube. And also, you're more than welcome to check out our community and also the Manifestation Challenge. Because my learning as I sit here right now, and why this is all about manifestation, is that when I created with the mask and the business person, without being with myself, when I created in that energy, it wasn't whole. So yes, I created the big business. Yes, I created some amazing cars and all of these, but I was not with myself. So it was kind of empty. It's kind of nothing. It didn't really mean anything. So for me, that's not freedom. That's not peace, because I've experienced both now. For me, it's creating from the truth, creating from what shows up, and following the inspiration and following that path, whatever unfolds. So that's all about manifestation. I hope this somehow helps you just a bit, and I look forward to connect. I'll see you in the next video.